So let's talk about a topic that I find pretty interesting right now, especially in these markets, which are a little difficult to navigate: reacting to price action instead of trying to predict. I feel like recently I've been talking about these things on my social media, and as you can see in front of you right now on the screen, this is my Twitter. And I said a little bit ago that it's a pretty crazy market right now. Good news gets sold, bad news gets bought, the gap ups fade, gap downs rally. This is why being open-minded both ways is so important. Price action over everything. And that's why I strongly believe that not only right now, but when it comes to short-term trading in general, reacting over predicting is always best. And here's a tweet that I even said today. In the current market, short-term traders need to avoid a directional bias, which by the way is not easy to do, and be a master at reacting instead of predicting. So this is something that I keep mentioning, and I'm thinking about it a lot in the current market environment. So I wanted to dig into the details today. So when it comes to the stock market, it's very easy to want to predict and try to figure out what's going to happen. In the beginning of my trading career, I was guilty of doing that a lot, and I can tell you I was wrong most of the time. These are some of the points that I think help when it comes to reacting instead of predicting, which is going to be very beneficial when it comes to short-term trading. The first one is to have no bias. Be very open-minded both ways each day. Now, this is not easy to do, especially when things are trending in one direction, or I've had a couple green days in a row or a couple red days in a row. You want to kind of focus on the overall trend, and I do think that's a good thing. The path of least resistance is always going to be the most important, but in this current market, things can change so quickly that you have to be able to try to see it from the other side and then be able to switch positions if for some reason you're wrong. And I can tell you that this is very difficult for new traders to do, but with experience, you get better at being able to do so. So I think this is very important. We have an understanding of what the daily chart is doing. Are we trending higher? Are we trending lower? So you can understand the bigger picture idea, but don't get married to being long or short. That's why I really like to focus on price action and then the technical patterns that I always talk about in my videos. I really try my best to let price action tell the story so I don't overthink things, lean one way more than the other, and I can just try to ride the current wave of whatever's happening. And the next thing to touch on is a higher time frame. I know that a lot of people look at the 1 minute chart. I used to look at the 1 minute chart too. It can be very difficult to be patient on a 1 minute chart. When you see those candlesticks moving every single minute, you feel the need to have to take trades every single second. It can be easy to overtrade. So something that I recommend is looking at a slightly higher time frame. I'm a big fan of the 2 minute. I know that works great for me. I've heard that it works well for others as well. And another great time frame is the 5 minute. I think what these slightly higher time frames do is it slows things down just a little bit. You don't feel the need to have to trade every single tick, and a lot of times that can create patience and allow you to see the price action, let it really tell the full story, and then react according to what's actually happening, not what you think should happen. And next on the list is that I really do believe that the first 20 to 30 minutes provides a ton of opportunity for short-term traders. I know there are some people that like to trade all day, but when it comes to me specifically, I'm a big fan of being able to be on the right side of a trade pretty quick off the open. And if I'm green, I need to do a good job at calling it. And I'm noticing that in the current environment where it can be very back and forth, most of that opportunity comes within the first 20 to 30 minutes. After that, it can get pretty choppy. And I know that if I stick around and trade that chop, I usually get beat up and it leads to a bad outcome. So my main focus, and especially in the current market, is to do my best to take advantage of the volatility off the open and then call it a day. And next, which I think is really important, is don't be greedy. I know we always want more. And especially when it comes to only focusing on the first 20 to 30 minutes, if you're up a lot, you think, hey, I want to keep trading and I want more. But I've noticed it usually goes the opposite way because the price action is not as clean and it can get a little choppy and a little bit more difficult to trade. So anytime there's green on the screen, I strongly believe that it's always good to just accept it for what it is and not ruin a good thing. And the emotion that makes us want to continue is greed. We want more. It's never good enough no matter what. So that's something that we all need to master and not let get the best of us. Even if you have a day where you don't make as much as maybe you expected or you're used to, you kind of have to just put it into perspective and realize how lucky we are that we have an opportunity to make money sitting from our homes and not have anybody tell us what to do. And last on the list is going to be to avoid over trading. Now, I know this is not easy to do, but one thing that I try my best to do is focus on 1 to 3 trades every single day in the first hour, and more importantly now, within that first 20 to 30 minutes. So I've given myself a number. I know that at 3, that's when I'm really good. When I start to take more than that, my outcome is usually not great. And the reason that I was able to figure that out is through trial and error. All the years of trading, the days that usually ended up being bad days or just not great and I felt really frustrated, I would look at my order entry and I would always have more than 3 trades. So that really is something that you have to figure out. What is that number that works best for you? And then make sure to be aware of it and don't go over it. Have the discipline to listen to it. When you've hit that number of trades, stop trading. Or when you're nicely green, even if it's on the first trade of the day, being able to walk away and not overtrade and mess a good thing up. So that's my thought process on reacting over predicting. I think it's always going to be beneficial to focus on that instead of trying to figure out where the market's going to go and get married to an idea. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I just wanted to make a video on it. Slightly different than the videos I normally do, but I want to start doing more stuff like this because I really like focusing on the psychology of things because that's a big part of trading. So that's it. Hopefully you got some value from the video. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just want to talk about a couple cool things that I have to offer. The first is going to be my newsletter watch list. This is exactly what I post on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open every single day. I do a quick analysis of the overall market, the SPY and the Qs, if there's any major market news that day, and then all the stocks I'm interested in watching. It's usually 4 or 5, if there's any major news tied to them, and all the levels that I think are in play. To the left, this is exactly what I'm posting on my private Twitter. I make sure to add that newsletter. I take a screenshot of the charts, green line to the upside being long, red line to the downside being short, and I make sure to highlight those 2 levels above. This is everything that's going on in my mind and my game plan going into each market open. Also, I make sure to add a little mental note because every day is slightly different, and here's an example of that. And if you want something that's a little bit less of a commitment, I do offer a live one-on-one call for 1 hour. This is where you can ask me questions about my journey, go over setups specifically, everything that I've gone through as a trader. Whether you're beginner or advanced, this is a great way to connect with me. So if you're interested in my private Twitter or the one-on-one live call, feel free to go to callmattdiamond.com or check out the links in the description below.